The Fair Housing Act is a federal law that was passed in 1968, immediately following the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. The Fair Housing Act makes it illegal to discriminate against anyone on the basis of their race, color, religion, national origin, whether or not they have children, or disability status.
Racial discrimination in rental housing, as we have seen it through our housing program, is pretty prolific throughout the New Orleans area. We have several community members who have come to us with stories that quite honestly are unbelievable. Mainly Latinos are susceptible to discrimination because of the language barrier, and also because most of them are undocumented, and therefore they just automatically have a lot of fear, and so they don't question a lot of situations that they find themselves in, and they'll accept really deplorable living conditions, or they'll accept being turned away as just a matter of realities for someone who's undocumented, not realizing that they have rights as human beings and they shouldn't be treated that way.
We know that Latinos are also discriminated against in housing at very significant rates. The discrimination may not look like an outright refusal to rent, but what it does look like is taking advantage of Latino renters.
We have found landlords that are specifically looking for undocumented tenants. And the reason he's looking for the undocumented tenants is because he understands that if he rents to them, he could take advantage of them, and that they will live in the conditions, whatever conditions that he'll put them in. Is a family that, because of their documentation status, was accepting really deplorable living conditions. They were so bad that they didn't have a refrigerator, they didn't have a working kitchen, and the only reason we found out about their situation is because the landlord was refusing to fix something electrical, so therefore they didn't even have power running into their home. So this is a family with children living in a house with no electricity and no working kitchen.
So of course when you talk about housing, you're not just talking about bricks and mortar. You're talking about an entire array of services and opportunities that are associated with the housing. And so that means schools, that means public safety, it means an environmentally healthy place, it means access to jobs, it means access to good transit. And so housing represents an entire bundle of rights and opportunities that everybody should be able to enjoy and everybody should be able to exercise some choice.
In 2014, after a study came out associating certain neighborhoods in New Orleans with better health outcomes and longer lifespans, we asked the question about whether all people are having equal access to those neighborhoods of opportunity. And what we saw was an alarming rate of discrimination against the African American testers.
And during the audit, we sent trained mystery shoppers posing as prospective renters. Our mystery shoppers are equally qualified African American and white prospective renters. And what we found was that African American renters were either denied the opportunity to rent or offered less favorable terms and conditions 44% of the time.
The fact that it is likely that an African American will run into barriers in those neighborhoods, that's a huge problem.
So the way that racial discrimination looks today might be a bit different than the way that it looked when the Fair Housing Act was passed. So we certainly in our work still do see many cases in which landlords or housing providers will refuse to rent to a person based on their race or national origin. They may say something like, I don't rent to your kind, for instance, and that's an example from a racial discrimination case that we've handled here at the Fair Housing Action Center. But more often what we see is something that tends to discourage people of color from applying. Maybe a refusal to provide a rental application, or quoting less favorable rental terms to African American renters than are quoted to white renters, or quoting more burdensome rental requirements to African American renters.
We decided to move back to the city or to the South Shore after being away for 8 years due to Katrina, in which we lost our house in New Orleans.
Because both of us work on this side of the lake, and it was just it was like a paycheck after we move, of course, for us like a raise in pay because we spend a lot of time going back and forth. So this move was a very important financial move for us too.
So this is one of the places where I got a response and asked about coming over to see it. And there was some hesitation on the phone initially. So finally we decided to see it at 6:30 that afternoon.
It was high on my list, and we wanted to get a application from him.
Because first I said, I think I like it. And my husband asked if we could have an application. And he's holding onto a folder like this, real hands and knuckles almost white. And I'm assuming the application was in there in retrospect. He said, well, y'all just keep on looking. I'm sure y'all find something.
Right, exactly right. I'm
And
sure
I'm
you'll
like,
find something else.
Then we walked away. And as we walked away, I remember telling Mike, I don't think he liked us. I just don't think he liked us. So we got in the car, we went home, and I'm still pondering, like, something's not right. You know, I know I'm a likable person. I think we're likable people. But I just think he didn't like us. So I went to bed, I woke up, and I said, we've been discriminated against. The next day I said, we've been discriminated against.
The Thorntons contacted us after they suspected that they were experiencing discrimination when trying to rent an apartment in the greater New Orleans area. And we decided to investigate the case to see if we could substantiate their claims, to see if we could uncover a pattern of discrimination. When we compared the differences of the testers' treatment, we saw that repeatedly the African American testers either did not receive callbacks or were told that the apartment was unavailable.
After the Fair Housing Action Center began representing the Thorntons in their racial discrimination claim, Ms. Thornton received a letter at work that provided more proof of racial discrimination at the property. The letter that she received contained a list of names of people who sought to view the rental property, and next to the names of people that the owners deemed were African Americans were racial epithets.
I think part was disbelief for me. It was like, this did not happen in 2013. This did not happen to us. It was a list of maybe a whole sheet, maybe 25, 26 names, and 5 people were niggers.
So we're standing up for people who may have gone through this and just didn't know
You're
it.
in that mode of looking for a house, so they may totally forget, oh, that guy didn't call me back. So for all those people who may have been actually discriminated against, and in all the hurry trying to find a place, not recognize what happened to them, for them, we move forward.
Often in this country, there's an assumption made that segregation is the natural order of things. And that's actually not true. Fair housing advocates know from years of research that all people would prefer to live in neighborhoods that are safe and that offer access to opportunity. And when we continue to perpetuate racial segregation and when we condone residential segregation and we live in segregated neighborhoods, then certain classes of people, most often communities of color, are subjected to continued marginalization and a lack of access to opportunity.
So we are living in an increasingly global world, an increasingly global economy. And in order to succeed in that world, everybody should have the experience of enjoying social relationships with people of different races and ethnicities. Study after study has shown that integrated schools are better for students, integrated workplaces are better for business, and the same holds true for integrated communities.
Until it's put out there and made public that people are still getting caught and still having to be accountable for their actions, this will continue. So we're moving forward.